Good afternoon, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, lords, ladies, and whoever else is here. Today, I'm joined by a familiar face for anybody who uses YouTube, Howard Floyd. Hi, Howard. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Bob.
I'm really looking forward to sort of digging into your life story, if you like, and you know, I mean, we're not going to go too deep. I'm not going to get you to lie down on the couch and ask you about your relationship with your father. None of that stuff.
Good kids.
But thanks for joining us. I know there's been a lot of interest. People are very interested to hear what you've got to say. Like a lot of the people who are watching, you know, I'm the same. We follow you. I know I watch you on YouTube. I know you watch me on YouTube. We're very sad. I think we need to get a life. So thanks for joining us. I mean, what I generally try and find out first is tell us a little bit about yourself. For those who don't know who you are, give us the potted history. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, obviously I'm Howard. My background, I mean, I don't know how far you want me to go, but I mean,
education. Just tell us what you're doing now, and then we'll go back.
All right, yeah, that
Does that
makes
sound all right.
Well, I currently run a driving school. I think that's what I'll be doing at the end of my days now. I can't imagine doing anything other than that now.
And the name of the school, in case anybody doesn't know it.
And how to drive. So
that's the number 2. How to drive.
Yeah, how to drive. As in how to drive. That's where the name come from. It was going to be. I was considering when I set it up Howard's Way.
Oh, right. That would date you.
Yeah, that'd be like, well, whatever. So yeah, so how to drive, and set that up in 2009, end of 2009. That become a thing.
So when did you qualify? Yeah.
Pardon?
When did you qualify?
I qualified end of 2009. So as I qualified, I think one of the first things I did once I got my green badge is set up my website. Just got the the URL, whatever you call it, the domain. That's it. That's what I got. Got the domain name, and because I knew that would take a little while to sort of be found on Google, and so I set that up and joined the AA. So I was an AA franchisee when I first qualified, because they'd done my training. So that was all good. And so, yeah, but I always knew I would have my own driving school. So I thought I'd set that up on day one, get that sort of on a slow burner, and sort of develop it from there. And it was about a year and a half in before I thought, with the AA, I thought, you know, I think I can get my own customers now, and took the leap, which was kind of a scary thing, actually, to think, oh, you know, will it work? Will I find people's? So that was, I remember feeling quite apprehensive about leaving the franchise to do that.
Naturally.
And yeah, I had a good time with the AA, good training. They helped me become an instructor trainer. So weirdly, you know, 6 months into the job, 6 months as a ADI, they sent out an email. They were looking in the area, and I thought, well, I've got like no chance because I've just qualified. I mean, very green to it all, and yeah, they were prepared to, you know, put me on the training course and help me. And looking back at it now, I just thought, God, I hardly knew anything back then. You know, it does take a while, doesn't it, to pick stuff up. And you know, I don't know whether I was overconfident. I don't know. But looking back at it now, I would think, God, Howard, what are you doing? Like, you're only just into the job. Why you know, like, you need to learn more before you start training instructors. I mean, that would be my honest sort of.
It might be interesting as we finish off the tale about, you know, what you're doing now, and then go back and work our way through. I think it's probably useful then to be chatting about, other people who were going to follow in your footsteps, or, advice you would give them at that time. But now you're running the driving school and driving instructor training.
Yeah.
Parts 1, 2, and 3.
Correct. Yeah.
Remedial work, all under the same banner, howtodrive.co.uk, or is it
Yeah,
.com?
all one company. So there's the driving school and the instructor training side is all set up as one brand, one company.
Cool.
Haven't split them.
Well, we'll work our way through and put a bit of flesh on those bones, as it were. But
okay.
What did you do before you were in ADI?
I was in hospitality management. My degree was in hospitality management, and I did a marketing diploma. So that was back when I was, years ago. I think I graduated when I was 23. Okay. And I did my training. Part of the degree was to do a year out, like it was I think what you call a sandwich degree, where it was a 4-year degree, and year 3 was out in the industry. And I was looking at a few options. I was going to go to M&S Food in Baker Street in London, and that was all going to happen, but then that all fell through because not because of me, I think, but because of M&S made a decision to not do that anymore. And so I was well excited because I thought, I'm going to go to London and that'd be great. But anyway, I joined Pizza Hut, and they'd had their management training program, and I must say, I was that is probably the better move for me to make, because that was a very comprehensive management training program. And looking back at it, I don't think they get that now. I think they've, I don't want to slag them off, but it was very thorough, and you had to go away on courses, and there were modules and things, homework to do. I was very impressed with it, and it was right up there with what I was doing at degree levels. Right. So I was quite impressed by it all, and and they were thorough. And then you get back into restaurant, and you could put what you've learned into practice in the restaurant when it's all real. And it kind of feels like what we do with the PDIs, like they do their study, then it goes live, and it felt like that. So I enjoyed that. And so when I graduated, I stayed with Pizza Hut and went up to run restaurants with them, and went to various locations running stores as one of their general managers. And
so what took you from...
I joined Frankie and Benny's. I had a bit of a timeout in the middle of that, and then Pizza Hut come back and got me back, and but then so I did that for a long time, and I think I was general manager for 12 years. With Pizza Hut and Frankie and Benny's.
So what took you from that? Was it ABI next, or was there anything else in between? Or?
Then my son. So during that 12 years, I had Tyler, my son, and I kind of, and the unsociable hours of restaurants, I was missing out on a lot there. So I went to work at a college. It's like an admin role, looking after a team, something completely different, where they were looking to
was that the idea? Online. Was it something different you were looking for, or did you just fall into it?
It was, I saw an advert and thought, I could do that. It was running a team. So I'd been used to running big teams of as a general manager, you'd probably have up to 50 people in your team, like staff. A lot of them would be part-time. You'd have about a 4 or 5 line management team, and probably about 30 full-timers, 20 to 30 full-timers. So I went from that to running just a very small team of 4.
Right.
Which was, different. And it was something I've never done before. They were introducing a timetabling system, a centralized timetable system into the college. So it was all going online.
Right.
And that was a bit of a new concept because they were used to having like 20 different versions of a timetable, so no one knew where they were going. I don't know how things ran in them days, but then it all went computerized. And that was the job to centralize the timetabling. And it was all a bit of a novelty, and people didn't think it would like catch on and stuff.
And
Yeah,
lo and
it's that
behold,
kind of like, thinking like to what I do now, where we've got instructors and diaries. I think, God, I'm still there. Dealing with clashes and double bookings and like trying to sort out, not that we get too many double bookings, but it is, you're trying to always just manage like who can do what, when can they do it, is it in the right place, the right area. So yeah, a bit of a timetabling challenge. So that was something I was quite
and the
comfortable
online
with.
element is something that's entering our industry now, isn't it? Really. So you said it was different. Was that different in a good way, different in a bad way, or just different?
I'll be honest, looking back at it, at the time it was like much less stressful than restaurants, because it was a Monday to Friday. So Friday night you'd leave your job and nothing would have changed until you go in Monday morning.
Right.
Like nothing's happened.
Right.
Whereas with a restaurant, it's just everything's obviously carrying on, moving. Problems are coming up when you're off, and you're always even if you're on a 2-week holiday abroad. Actually, before the days of mobile phone, you could just hide away; it wouldn't matter. But then, as the mobiles come in, you kind of always knew what was going on. So it's quite stressful, really.
I've had a few friends who worked in that line of work, and the restaurants just seem like strange places to me. They're all calm and serene at the front end of it where the customers are, but ridiculously shouty and chaotic behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Such a juxtaposition.
Yeah.
It must be terrible to work on the bit that's sort of in between, where you've got a leg in both camps kind of thing, which I imagine is what your role was. So what took you from that to becoming an ADI? Was that another look in the paper and think, oh, I could do that?
Well, I was doing my job at the college, and I just one day I used to get the bus in. I was sat on the bus and I looked out the window, and at the traffic lights, this driving instructor pulled up alongside, and I tell you what, he looked well happy. And I'm thinking, do you know what? I feel quite miserable at what I'm doing at the minute. And I thought, God, he looks happy. So I started to look at it, researched it, got some packs from mostly the nationals. I think I read and things I got information from, and I kind of looked at it and I kind of dismissed it as though I won't earn enough. It's a non-starter, and that was that for 2 years. And 2 years later, the idea come back. I thought, do you know what? Look at it more closely, Howard. There could be something in this. And the appeal of being my own boss, working on my own, was the thing. Which I know, like when you go to job interviews and that, you always say I'm a team player and that. But I thought, you know what? I just want to work on my own and decide what's going on. Not have to have a meeting about it.
Yeah.
And just do it. Just like it is what it is. We're doing it. That's it. I'm doing that.
I've written it down now, so it's happening. That's So how was your training journey then? How did you find the training? Because it would have been the old PST test then, of course.
Yeah, I did the precept test route. Yeah, God, they were the days like that. But yeah, that was
those were the days. Would you go back to those days?
Well, from a trainer point of view, in a heartbeat, because from a trainer point of view, easier to get people through, predictable. You knew, which is terrible for developing driving instructors. So what they're doing now is better because it's fit for purpose. Where it really does sort out the wheat from the chaff, I guess, is what I kind of feel. Whereas everything, because I've done it for so long with the PSTs, it was kind of like, we can play the game here, and we can
absolutely.
And that's how I felt. So yeah, it was an easier route to get people through. So now I have to work hard.
That's the thing,
and
isn't
it's so unpredictable, and so it is very much harder, and every day is a challenge.
Absolutely. I mean, again, I think the same. I really welcome the new test, but everything is just, you don't know what's going to happen once those wheels start turning. Whereas the old PST test, you kind of knew what that examiner was going to do. You knew what his favorite things were. You knew there were certain things that he wanted to have happen. You knew that as long as you give a fairly slick 8-minute brief and you won the argument that followed it, you were going to pass.
Exactly.
So from a training point of view, it was easy, but
I knew if they were going to do crossroads, I knew where they would go.
Yeah.
And I could almost, having sat in on many, know where the faults will come. Like when he comes to this one, he's going to be approaching it right near the end and just slap it in first gear and have that big engine braking. Yeah. Try and prevent that from happening. Watch him and stop it happening.
Well, I don't know whether I should share this in a public forum like this, but a test center that I'm not going to, no names, no package, a test center that I used to use, there was a set of unmarked crossroads that were ridiculously difficult to see on the run up to it.
Yeah, well, same here. Yeah,
so I tied
and you want to go through them.
There was trees on the approach from each angle, and I tied yellow ribbons around the thing. So if one of my PDIs passed a tree with a yellow ribbon, they were coming on an unmarked crossroads. How ridiculous is that?
That's the thing.
But I knew if they didn't spot it, they were going to fail the test.
So they'd come up there, unmarked crossroads to turn right, and he'd go onto the wrong side of the road, or try to.
Yeah.
And everything was just like, he's going to do that. So just like, as you're going down that road, just, you have a conversation. So like, there's no centered markings on this. It's just a one or two-way road. Oh, it's one way. No, it's two-way. All right. And then it was predictable. You could get, do it. And when the new test came out, I thought, oh, that'd be easy. Because you can pick the topic, you can pick your route, you're in full control. It's going to be easy. Not.
There's that unknown factor of how much the PDI's backside is going to fall out and how much the driver's backside is going to fall out. And it's the thing that I feel, I don't know what you think about this, I'm now training people to think on the hoof, to ask themselves, what's my options here? Choose one, execute that plan and see what happens, and constantly moving. So it is much more a test of whether they can do the job in the real world. Because in the past, we used to get people through the test and then train them to work in the real world.
That's it. Yeah, so many times I would find myself saying, and I used to beat myself up for saying it, but if in your test you will do this, but in real life, because it was like they split the junctions into approaching and emerging. Yeah. And I said, in real life, you'd go around the block and do a block of lefts. You wouldn't do lefts and right. Initially, you might just start easy with lefts, and there'd be emerges and approaches in the real world, because you'd never find a route that just did left emerges. Like, where would you go?
I mean, I don't ever remember in the real world doing a lesson on progress and hesitancy. Just didn't do it because it was built in all the other stuff you did. It was just But I suppose so. It was. I mean, I don't miss the old test. I miss how easy it was to train people for it as a trainer. But I don't miss the having to turn people. I had a 3-day induction course in LDC. Well, we still do. The people at the company, and I had that 3 days to turn them into real world instructors, which is just crazy. So we build that in now. So yeah, it was interesting. So qualified to AA, enjoy the training?
Yeah, I was lucky, had a really good trainer. I mentioned him. He's still a trainer now, Phil Smith, in Norwich, and yeah, he really looked after me. I got through everything first time. So yeah, and I just remember when I was coming up to my final exam, the part 3, because I managed to get through on the first attempt, and I'd done a few like mock tests, and I always thought the phase 1, dealing with the beginner sort of pupil, the new topic scenario, I felt most of my training had been geared towards that, because so like do a briefing and a full talk through and all that, and I felt quite suited to that. But I felt I struggled with the if they were part trained or near test standard, I'd be like, oh, you know, I struggled. So I went online and I discovered Blaine Walsh. I just sort of stumbled across him, and I subscribed. This is like 10 years ago, or 2009, and more than 10 years ago. And I watched some of his videos, which were really good for the phase 2, like doing stuff on the move and Q&A, and that really helped me. And I kind of put discovering that as why I got through my the second phase, of the exam, the phase 2, which I did really well on that. I weren't far off for 6 for that, but then weirdly struggled on my phase 1, and the examiner sort of said, it's close. You're a grade 4. You're it's a close thing, but your second phase was much stronger.
Yeah.
So I managed to squeak through on go 1, so I didn't have to endure the stress of like going and doing that again. Which
it's awful, isn't it? When we deal with people who are going for the third attempt, it's when you see what it does to people, it's frightening, isn't it? It's
yeah, that's just.
So that then led to 6 months later wanting to become a trainer. But you said that the advert saw the advert again and thought, I could do that.
Yeah, they sent out an email to all their ADIs, and I thought, well, I'll apply. And so at that point, I hadn't even had my standards check, or my educational check test, or whatever they called it back then. So I hadn't had that yet. So they kind of offered me a place pending. I think you had to get a grade 5 or 6 to be considered.
Yeah.
And so I had a date in the pipeline, and basically they said if you get that, then you're in. So I got it. So I was in. So that was it. So that was really good, and they did all that training for free. Can you imagine?
Yeah, we do for our trainers. The trainers get the thing for free, but that might change going forward. So yeah, I mean, you alluded to the fact that there you are, a trainer, and thought to yourself, "Ooh, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm going to get found out."
Yes, I was doing learners and PDIs.
Well, what I love about it now, of course, is that you can use learners in the training, which is something that's new. But if what advice would you give somebody who was in the same position, who was recently qualified, maybe early on in their journey, and they're fancying being a trainer? Would you say go for it, or would you say wait?
I would say do it, but get more experience than I had. I was very green. At the time I thought I was pretty coping and doing all right, but I bet if I was on the receiving side, I don't know. Maybe I'm just putting myself down, but I just think now, like, just fresh into it to do that.
The only way you can really
should have taken longer and learn my craft, and settled into that before doing that. But
is that because of what you know now?
Yeah.
Obviously, your knowledge is much broader and much deeper now. But if you were to do a direct comparison, perhaps, I mean, you can't get to do that, but a direct comparison with another trainer at the time may well be that you were better. I always say to people, listen, if you're good enough, you're good enough. If you haven't got the experience, we can work around stuff. I'm just making a note of the questions as they come through that we'll look at the.
All right. Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah.
So, if somebody was to say to you, I'm thinking of becoming an ABI, what would you say to them? Good idea, bad idea?
Well, when people approach me to become a driving instructor, to do the training, I would always not try and put them off, but be honest. Like, it's going to be hard. I let them know that the pass rate for part 3, what it is, and it's going to take a lot of work. I'm not trying to sell it like, oh, like, yeah, just give me your money and let's do it. Because I have, over the years learned that not everyone is the right person, hasn't maybe got the right attitude towards driving, and quite closed in their views, and or just the way they are.
I think honesty is, because it's the glossy brochures make it sound easier, and that's the job of the glossy brochure, is it not? To sales pitch. But I always think it's good to be honest with people and say, look, it is a decent job and you can earn a reasonable living, but you've got to work hard. It's these exams are not easy. And sharing the pass rates with people, and it's worse than it looks, in that 50% fail part 1 and go no further, 50% of them fail part 2, and only 30% get through part 3. But that's not 30% really, that's 30% of a quarter of those who started. So that's really quite frightening. But it's Carl Smith's just asked a nice question there about why do you have to be audit trained? You don't. Audit is it's designed to be a badge of quality. But I know lots of great trainers who aren't on audit, and I know trainers who are on audit who are ordinary. Present company accepted, of course, Howard. We as a company at LDC, all of our trainers are audit registered because it's a selling point apart from anything else, and we believe in quality. But it's not. I don't think the public know much about audit really. So, it's like. No. So, for me, it's a badge of quality, and I take pride in the fact that I've got it, and I'll carry mine until I retire. I suppose. I assume it's the same for your good self, because.
Yeah, I just think it's just, for me, it's like that. I do it because I want to sort of have the quality there, that I do care about it, that I will stay up to date, and to put myself under pressure that I need to go and do that. Yeah. Well, I test it used to be every 2 years, but now 4. So
and of course we don't have to do standards checks now as well, which is nice.
So I like to make sure I'm maintaining standards and just not sit back and just keep doing what I've always done. I always think, well, that there's got to be a better way, there's got to be a more efficient way, because I look at myself now and think there's plenty of room for change that I could take on, and I'm always looking for, like, how will I be more effective to get more people through, because it's very satisfying, obviously, when you do get someone through, and crushing when you don't.
Absolutely.
And that feeling, just the thought of getting back, that pressure, I'm feeling that pressure, thinking, got to be on it, it's and thinking of new ways to do that is kind of why I do it. And also I feel that I get have quite a good relationship with our examiner. I don't know whether because I am audit, but he kind of gives me time. He sort of always say, if you've got questions, or you can always come in and ask, have a chat. And I've done that, and I've found that quite useful. So they're there sort of
when they see that you're serious
as well,
Yeah, absolutely. I think when they see how serious you are about your own development, then they take you seriously, I think. Gemma's asked a nice question. Cheers, Gemma. Do you prefer PDIs or ADIs? PDIs or learners to work with?
Who do I prefer?
Let's put you on this spot. Cheers, Gemma.
The lion's share of what I do is with PDIs or ADIs. So I would say at this moment, it's always nice to have a learner, because it's like, not a novelty, but this is fun.
Good, yeah.
Not that I'm not probably messing this answer up, but it's my routine every day is instructor training, and the pressure's on with that. And with a learner, it's just nice to sort of go back to what it's all about. Like, I guess, like the customer service. If I was to compare it to restaurants, it's like stop being a manager for a day and just like go and take orders and go and deal with the public, go and do that side of it. And so that kind of feels like quite nice to sort of have a day.
Well, I always like to work with learners if I'm developing something new where I've got some new ideas, because it lets you test them, doesn't it? It also lets you test whether what you're spouting during your PDI lessons is right, and whether it will actually work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to put
I think we all do that.
Test, because often I find myself, well, I would do that in this situation. So it's always good to know that when you do that, it works. You know,
so that sort of leads us to the YouTube thing. And somebody's asked a question. Let me just find it. Warren's asked, now that your direction and production expertise for videos is getting up there with Steven Spielberg, would you mind sharing what software and cameras you use? Your videos are slick. So I do love them.
Is he asking about in-car or face the camera? Like, because I've done some that I've just shot at home that I just...
Well, let's find out about both.
Yeah, is he going to type in?
Well, tell us about them both. So what do you use in car?
In car, I'm using GoPros. So I've got one here actually.
Now so
that one.
Excellent. So in the finished video, because I don't notice much fisheye on yours, are you cropping it or are you shooting in linear mode?
No, they're in wide angle, super wide, I think. The in-car, so this I use in-car, and I use the smaller, is it the Session or the Hero? That's literally the size of the square.
Yeah.
That's going out front.
Yeah.
So that's what I use for the in-car stuff. And when I'm just doing it face to camera, I use a Nikon D something. Oh, it's downstairs. I was going to grab it. A D5-300.
Right.
Not kind of a good camera, but a beginner's good camera. Nothing, because I'm not like massively in photography, but it's good enough. It's got an external mic, and so yeah. So I use that.
What software do you use to edit it? Do you use the GoPro stuff or?
So no, I don't use the GoPro. I use Adobe Premiere Pro.
Ooh.
So
I have that at work, but
the real deal on that. That's what they do the movies with, I think.
It's expensive, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do the Adobe package where you pay a month. So I've got all the stuff which I use, like from Adobe to do signatures, and it's good for business. It's just like that does everything I need it to. So if I want to do a brochure, I can use the. Yeah, have you ever tried to do a brochure in Word? Oh my God, that's hard work because things move. Whereas the Adobe equivalent is just like, it's a bit of a learning curve, but then you got YouTube for that.
So well, yeah. The Tony Curran's saying, "Howard, you're doing a great job, doing an amazing job." He says, "As are you, Tony."
Oh well, thank you, Tony. Cheers.
Steph Gibson's asking, what advice would you give ADIs returning to work after such a long break, especially those that are fairly new?
PDIs going back after lockdown?
Yeah. Or freshly qualified ADIs going back after lockdown, having sat at home for a while.
Yeah.
I think they'll remember more than they think.
Well, initially I'd say, obviously, get in touch with people, keep talking to them. Because if you're feeling a bit apprehensive, they're going to be as well. Absolutely. To put them at ease. And and maybe do a bit of study, maybe just brush up. Is it, who was it who put a post on Facebook? Sadna? I think she said she had a bit of a reading list and she was going to put some stuff up and go through, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. That's something that I haven't actually done this lockdown, but the first lockdown, yeah, I read the essential skills again. I watched Louise and Blaine Walsh videos
Yeah.
on things, and just sort of got myself back into it. Started thinking about it, and like planning lessons and thinking, what would I do? So yeah, I'd start getting into it now.
Cool.
Thinking
Another question with the same sort of things.
Needs and planning.
Yeah, yeah. Sandra's asking any advice we would give how to control nerves. I mean, for me, what you need to do is recognize in your own body what the triggers feel like when you're getting there. So rather than letting it get out of hand, do you start to feel it here? Does your tongue dry? Do your nostrils flare? Do you feel your pulse in your earlobes? And start recognizing your own body's signs that you're feeling stressed, and then learn to control it. Breathing exercises, there's a myriad of different things. Think about the food that you eat beforehand. Does the change in food give you a different outcome with that sort of stuff? I mean, what would you say, Howard, to somebody who's feeling nervous?
Are you like talking for tests when you're going in to do part 3, sort of that sort of nerves?
The all learners, even, it's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
Me personally, I'll share with you a little story. When I was at Pizza Hut, I used to have to do like presentations at like area meetings and things, and one day we had a new ops director. He was going to be coming next month, and our area manager said, right, we're going to do things a little bit differently. Like each of the general managers will take a topic like marketing or finance, whatever, health and safety. Oh, poor somebody got that. And would present on it for the area. So I was like, all right. And at that point, I felt a bit nervous. Oh, yeah. So I had a month to sort of dwell on that. And so a month of me getting anxious about it. So I just visualized that I'd be crap at it, because everyone would be, I don't know, because I'd always done this. And because I'd had a month to sort of tell myself I'd be rubbish at it, I was rubbish at it. And I couldn't even breathe. Hyperventilated. I just had to make up. I had asthma. I don't have asthma. And I just sort of said, oh yeah, I have to sit down. Oh, I was so nervous. And then I thought, what is going wrong with me? So anyway, I thought, that's a one-off. Anyway, it happened again. So I went and got some, I thought, I need to get some help with this. So I got some NLP therapy, new I can't even say it.
Linguistic programming, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that. So I did a couple of sessions, and basically, like what you just said, Bob, like to tell you, you've got to tell yourself you can do it. You got to believe it, because you can do it. And so I had to actually do proper exercise, like look in the mirror, say things. When you're going to sleep, visualize you're crushing it. You're really good at it. And after a while, you just start forming those new those messages, those connections in your brain, and then you start believing it. Yeah. So then when I did it, it's kind of like, and they did put me under, did a bit of hypnosis, I think. Well, they did, because they're still going to put you under here. And so now when someone says do something, I'm like, yeah, me, I'll do it, like without a doubt, without hesitation. And it just switched something in my brain. And if ever I find myself saying I can't, even just saying it out loud is bad, that you can't do something, it's a slippery old slope. Don't believe it, because your brain it'll take over. You've got to say you can do it, and you've got to believe it. And you have to work on it.
Yeah, anybody looking for help in that regard, I'll read The Inner Game of Tennis by Timothy Galway, and the what's the other one, The Chimp Paradox. You talk yourself out of it. The shaking hands and shaking legs thing, Sandra, that's a lack of oxygen in your blood. That's adrenaline making you do that. So learn about that. And there's also innerhealthstudio.com. There's some fantastic stuff on there, and it's free. So have a look at those. So speaking of frightening things, you then decided to launch a YouTube channel. What brought that about? I mean, that's a fairly scary thought for most people. Lunatics like you and me do that sort of stuff.
So why did I do that? Well, back in 2015, my wife got diagnosed with MS. So yeah, that changed stuff. And yeah, so I just thought, got to do this proper now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's fine. Howard. Don't. So
so I just thought I'd do it like serious, like grow my business. I was just playing at it before,
right.
like my own boss, just just playing at it. But I thought, I need to make a proper, build this up, make a living, and so that my wife could join the school, so she didn't have to do her job.
Right. How much of the skills?
Yeah, sorry, it's just got a bit emotional.
Well, it's natural, isn't it? You're making connections with a sad time, so that leads you to then look at building a different element to your business.
Yeah. So from that, I thought, well, I need help. So I went to a guy that does, like, initially did my website, and he's like a marketing person as well. And he'd sort of say, you need online presence to grow. You need to sort of, that, because I told him what my goal was, I said at that point, I said, I can train driving instructors, but I don't really have them. Once they train, they go to other schools, they become independent. And I did have a few that were with me. So we were probably about four driving instructors at that point. So it was that. And so I thought, you know what? I had a vision that I'd want 20, because if I had 20, it would be enough that we could do what we wanted to do. I.e. Sam, my wife, not work. Well, still, she works. Christ, she saw this. She works, but not where she was. She's in a stressful job. Yeah. So at 20 was the target that we could afford to carry on as we were, and she could work from home. And so that was it. I thought, right, how do I get to 20 instructors? And when do I want to do it by? So I thought, I want to do it in 3 years, and went for it. And YouTube was just one of the parts of the cog to do that. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's Howard, it's a job now. You got to get on and do it. So I got a bit more serious about it. And
how many of the Pizza Hut skills did you bring to play in that, do you think?
Well, nothing on video. So, but yeah, I mean, Pete's had like their values as a business that kind of always, I think they run through what I do now. They had 10 like values. I can't remember them all, but I know like emotional resilience and like excellence, the sort of words they'd use, and sort of really, belief in people was another one, and those sort of things. I thought, well, as a trainer, I can bring that and help people, and and just get them to be the best that they can be, and I'll try and be the best that I can be.
Well, I think when you look at what you're providing the industry, you really do shine, and it's a lot of people follow what you're doing. A lot of love in the comments here for you as well with it. Don't worry about it. It's natural. So if there are people out there looking to maybe not be independent and work with a company, how do they get in touch with you?
How would they get in touch?
Have you got room for more instructors? I suppose is the first.
If they live in Norwich, Norfolk, yeah. So because quite often I get people from other parts of the country sort of saying, well, could you train me in Liverpool, and could I join? And it's like, no, got no aspirations to just want to be a local driving school. It's a local school for local people.
Yeah, I wasn't going to make that reference, but it's brilliant.
That could be our strap line. Yeah, so no plans to because that just get messy then. Just want to be good in our area, and and not get too big, because I think that would dilute me. And I think you know, I need to be aware of that where I am now, is just like everyone that I train, I just want to give them the best and not, you know, like be greedy and take too many people where I can't do a half-assed job. I want to do, you know, give everyone the best, you know, because it's a hard old thing to pass, and when they don't, I take it personally.
It's hard. You take it personally. You do. It really hurts. I think I did a little video segment on that on the LDC YouTube thing, where, you know, it was a run into a test, and somebody who I knew wasn't a good test taker. I just did a 5-minute thing, just explaining the impact it has on us. And I think that's worse when it's PDIs. If somebody's going for the third attempt, you know, we're all calmness and serenity, but inside we're churning like crazy. Because I think if you ever get to the point where you don't care at that level, you're not as good as you can be. And I think, you know, from what you've been telling us along here, and I know this will get any with it, you know, you want to be the best that you can possibly be at all times. And you know, there is an element of, if you get too big, or, you know, you just start taking all and sundry on, then, as you quite rightly said, dilutes things. There was another question somebody asked. Let me say, why do you think the L driver pass rates are so low? Could be a contentious one, this one.
Why don't they say low?
Is it the DVSA's fault?
I wouldn't say.
No, definitely not.
They I think, well, one of the reasons, I think that a lot of, I guess it's, I don't want to blame the current generation, because our generation was probably the same, but I think people want it, like, expect it to be quite a quick job. And when I learned to drive in the 80s, 10 hours was probably, like, yeah, standard. 10-20 hours, pass your test. And the standard now is higher. If you, like, the road deaths have, like, come down massively since then, so standards are higher, a lot more people on the road. And I just think people want it, like, instant, like, and, you know, they want to put a number on how much money they've got to spend, and that will be enough to get them to pass. Whereas, like, any skill, if you were learning French, you know, to get decent at it, you know, you got to put the hours in and work at it. And so I think a lot of people go in for tests that just aren't ready. And I think instructors get better with this over time. I know I did. Is recognizing that you're not a test, you're not ready. You're not, because you might, do you know what? The worst thing is you might pass tomorrow, but then my son is going to share the roads with you, and I know you're not ready. So so I would have a think about that, and, you know, manage their expectations, because that's a thing that often PDIs will struggle with, because they sort of, with the customer service side, they think, well, you know, we just want to say yes to them.
Yeah, no is the last word we've heard, isn't it?
That you've got to have those, you've got to manage them and manage their expectations, and just not blow smoke up their arse and tell them that they're really good, because they're not. They're not.
I say this to other guys, you know, no is the last word you learn as an ADI. You're terrified to turn work away in case the phone doesn't ring next week. And you're terrified to say to somebody, well, you're not going for testing my car, because I don't think you're going to be safe. We don't want to do that, because it's, you know, it's just, I mean, I passed my test in 1973, and honest to God, it's just, I passed my motorbike test the same year, and I actually fell off when I was round the block from where the guy was. I fell off and passed. Just, wow. So it is different, but the youngsters don't appreciate it. But that's one of the skills as well, isn't it? You know, the negotiation with your customers and stuff. I mean, it's been an absolute joy to talk to you, and so much for not having much to say.
I was thinking, but we've done in 10 minutes.
Sorry, just to share with you those off screen before we came on out, so I'm not sure I've got that much to say. I knew you would have. You don't get to where you're at and, you know, who you are without having opinions and stuff on it. I've been a fan of yours for the longest time. I love what you do on YouTube. I think it's great. I think I first sort of made contact with you because you put a comment on one of the videos that I'd done on YouTube, and we had a little bit of an exchange then. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I've got a video on my shelf behind me of like an LDC video that one of my students handed to me. I thought, yeah, like where you were just coaching this young people and I thought, and that's sort of something I took from that and say to people, just go and watch, if you want to watch how to coach and sort of talk to your pupils, just go watch Bob, because he's got a knack for it. That
they were an interesting series
try
of
to
videos.
learn.
Well, we can all learn from each other, can't we? That's the key thing. It's I mean, some of my best ideas are stole from PDIs. But it's that series, those series of videos. It was interesting because it was just me trying to find my way into coaching, and thinking about, well, how can I do that? How can I do that without instructing? But of course, and then realizing that if you jump on everybody for every fault they make, it crushes them. So deciding which faults to leave and which ones to work on was a delicate balance. So it was a fascinating journey, and I think I learned more about myself through that process than I learned about instruction and that kind of stuff. So it's been so that's how many years for you now? Oh wow, 12.
Oh yeah, qualified into 2009, so let's call it please 2010. Yeah. And so what, in my 11th year. And
so what's next for you then?
Just to maintain, we've got the instructors that we need. The school is as big as, I don't want a big school. I definitely wouldn't want it bigger. I just want to be able to be good at what I do and just keep things as they are and improve them, just improve standards and get better. Don't want to get bigger, just want to get better. I don't know.
Bigger isn't always better.
Yeah, exactly. It's just want to focus on getting this part 3 sorted out, getting consistent in that, and just constantly thinking of new ways on how to do that. So lockdown's been quite good for,
I've been working on
how we can sort of focus on things, and when we go back, we'll get PDIs to record lessons in car, which people watching this might have seen, like where they do a real lesson, and then we'll look at it, we'll review it in a Zoom session.
Yeah,
so we can see what's bad and well, not what's bad, but what could be better, and so to help them and sort of just
I've been using lockdown to develop my sort of stuff. I'm trying to simplify things as much as I can now, because I think there's quite a lot of training that makes things seem too complicated. And it is a fairly simple process. Put a plan together, execute it, reflect, review, new plan. That's it. That's all the job is. Oh, somebody's asking, where can you find the client-centered videos? Well, if you just go to YouTube and search for Bob Morton or go to LDC's channel, you'll find them all on there. There'll be some new stuff coming in the nearish future, if we're allowed out on the 12th. A week on Monday. Ooh. That's been an absolute blast, Howard. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. I cannot believe that almost an hour has slipped away so quickly. I can't thank you enough for sharing your journey, sharing some of the other stuff about your life. And I'll look forward to, somebody's put a link to me. Oh gosh. I wish you luck in everything that you do. And
okay.
I'd love to find ways of us maybe having a project together or something going forward. We'll talk about that off camera. But for now, thank you ever so much to Howard Floyd. If people want to find How to Drive, the number 2.co.uk. Look them up. If you're not watching them on YouTube, get yourself over there now and create a binge list for the rest of lockdown. Could they get through all your videos from now till April?
Well, I'd say probably don't watch the earlier ones. I probably need to delete some extra crap.
The reality is they're not. You just look at them now and think they're
learning progress.
Absolutely. But cheers, Howard. It's been an absolute blast, and thanks ever so much for sharing.
All right. Thanks a lot. Yeah, cheers. Thanks. Bye.